Okay, as you know, and I'm sure a good chunk of our audience also knows, I just completed another stint at home at my parents' house and the house that I grew up in.
The winter 2023/2024 tour is complete. I saw the duck.
That's right.
I love the duck. The duck was there.
That's right. That's right. The duck is ever present. The duck is always standing watch.
And look, your watch may end, but the duck will be there.
Actually, I don't know if you know, there's actually like 3 ducks up there.
I could see 2. I can see 2 usually.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a third. This is revolutionary new information for me.
There is a secret stealth duck up there.
Wow. I'm shocked.
But, But you know what else is ever present in that house, specifically in that basement? That place I sit to record is in the basement.
Yeah. Is this where you were sent when you were like a bad as a kid, or is this like a fun basement?
Yeah, the basement was not finished in those days. It was just a cement floor and like cinder block walls. So yes.
Yeah.
It was a dungeon back then. Now that's the finished part of the basement, but there is still an unfinished storage area.
Ooh.
And what is ever present down there is boxes upon boxes of old stuff.
Oh, no.
From decades, eons past.
Brad, did you take a trip down memory lane?
I started pulling out boxes and going through boxes.
Wow.
I had to know. It's been years that I've been wondering what's in some of those boxes. So I started going through some stuff.
Yeah.
I could fill a whole podcast with the weird stuff I found down there. But there's one thing in particular.
Like old school papers? You got any old school papers in there? Like,
did you hear me talking about that on another podcast?
No, my mom saved old school papers too. She was like, hey, do you want your first grade projects? I was like, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, you're talking about like papers I wrote for class?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant the school newspaper, which I also found about 8 issues of that I worked on.
Oh, I wasn't in a district that could afford a school newspaper. Are you kidding? A little real. Anyway.
I should have brought some of those with me because there's like, I covered Windows 95 in there.
What, really?
Yes.
You wrote the Brad's High School review of Windows 95?
I think I wrote an article about Power Toys in there, actually.
Oh, man.
Original 1996 Power Toys.
That is the most on-brand shit I have ever heard.
Yeah, I reviewed the Nintendo 64 in one issue.
Okay.
I reviewed MechWarrior 2 in one issue.
This is all legit.
I wrote about the internet. In fact, I think you can actually chart the course of, I think I wrote about BBSs at one point, and then like a few months later, I wrote about the internet as I was gaining access to these things in my own life.
I think the last thing I wrote for a school paper was a thing about how awesome a president was for our 4th grade newspaper. I chose Abraham Lincoln. He seemed pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay.
So there you go.
That's a safe choice, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to tell you what I actually found down there.
Yeah, what did you find? What's this hot stuff?
There's like a surprising amount of computer hardware scattered across these boxes. Like I may have mentioned before, I gave my mom approval to just e-waste our old computers that were in the basement some years ago, which I regret infinitely.
Yeah.
But apparently I had gutted a bunch of that stuff and saved it in boxes.
Oh boy.
So there's actually quite a bit of like, I found 2 old school AMD motherboards. There's like and they're both 8-bit.
Like socket 7 boards?
Yeah. Like one of them is a BH6, like the classic.
What?
I found it. Yeah. So that's not even the thing I'm here to talk about, but I found an 8-bit BH6 and also a KT7 down there.
Oh man.
I found like a stack of video cards. I found my original Riva TNT, the first Nvidia TNT.
Wow. That was a bad video card.
I found, dude, at the time, only having to have one video card in the machine.
Oh,
it's a revelation.
Wait, the TNT was okay. It's the Riva 128 that was bad.
Yes.
Yeah. The Riva 128 was a real POS.
Yes, the 128 was their first card. That one was questionable. The TNT
it was their second card, Brad.
Wait, was it?
The NV1 was their first card. It was really, it made the 128 look great.
Yes, I was extremely excited when I got the TNT. I found my original 3DFX card. It was an Orchid Righteous 3D.
Ooh, that is one of the first. It was either that or a monster for most people, as I recall.
There's some kind of a Seuss video card down there as well from the late, not like maybe around 2000, turn of the century. You know what they should really write? They should really stamp the model of a video card on the PCB of that video card. It's
usually screen written on there somewhere. Asus would have been doing Nvidia cards probably by that point. That would have been too late for rendition. It would have been too early for AMD never did third-party cards really at that point.
Oh my God, it just hit me. That might be my GeForce 256.
Yeah, it could be a GeForce 256. They did GeForce 256s for sure.
I bet that's what that is. I didn't even think about that.
Did it have an active cooler on it?
No, this was pre-fan. Pre-active
that could have been a TNT2 then if you had, because GeForces all had active coolers, I think.
Did they?
Yeah.
I did not have a TNT2. I went straight from the TNT1 to a GeForce 256 SDR.
Anyway, yeah.
Burying the lead here. I'm sorry. I was delighted to find all this old hardware because I thought it had all been purged. In one of those boxes, New inbox, retail packaging, factory shrink wrap, Celeron 300A.
What? Which one? The chip or the slot?
It's the slot one. Like the one everybody bought.
Wow, that's amazing.
Full retail box, full everything, like never been opened. I have no idea why I had a spare one of those.
Did you have a board that you could put it in? Probably not, right?
No, I definitely did not have like a dual CPU board. I think something may have gone on where I bought an extra one for a friend because there was a run on them because it was like the overclocking champ of all time.
Yeah.
And it was like everybody was buying them, and maybe I just thought like, oh, I should get an extra one of these because I had a lot of friends playing Quake.
They were like $100. It was, yeah.
I don't know what happened, but anyway, I've got this brand new Celeron 300A, never been out of the packaging. What am I going to do with it? So
that is a mainline enough processor that somebody like the Computer History Museum probably doesn't want it or care.
Sure.
But man, that is a classic.
Yeah. I'll mention I also found a Pentium 2 in a box somewhere. Also the cartridge, the slot.
It's like a Pentium 2 300 or something probably.
Was that a slot 1? Was that the name of it?
Slot 1 SL2. Yeah. Slot 1 Pentium 3s. Pentium 2s and 3s were in the same slot, and then they transitioned to sockets around the time it hit like 450 megahertz. So you could get in either flavor for a while. The same thing happened with the Celerons. Like the BP6s were dual socket boards, I think, not slot boards. But the BP6 was the famously the dual Celeron motherboard, where you could make the stupidest, like one of the best stupidest machines of all time, which was a dual overclocked Celeron 300A.
God, that sounds so awesome.
It was in terms of computers I've had that have been stable, it's a bottom 10 percentile for sure.
I was just about to ask how well that thing ran.
It was fine. The biggest problem was that you were running Windows NT 4 and the sound drivers were not designed for multitask. Like people assumed that if you were running a multi CPU system back then, you didn't have real sound in the computer or any sound in the computer probably.
Sure.
So like Creative Lab sound drivers were real unstable. Anytime you tried to do like anything that involved playing a sound.
Yes. Back in the dangerous days when any driver could bring the entire machine down.
It was the kind of thing where you'd load a web page that had a MIDI thing in it, and all of a sudden the computer would freeze, and it would be cool for a second, and then it would freeze again, and then it would blue screen. You'd be like, well, can't go to that web page.
Yep. Anyway,
that's amazing.
Yeah, trying to decide what to do with that Celeron.
Did you bring it back with you?
No, it's still there.
Okay,
that's kind of pretty bulky. It's like
it's
decent size in the box.
That's the kind of thing if you had say a shelf behind you with some stuff on it, you could put on that shelf, and then it would be like a cool thing to show.
That's not the worst plan for that thing, because so far the only plan I've come up with is to leave it in the box in the basement where I found it.
Yeah, you need like a shadow box, something to display it. Yeah, sure. Show a little bit of your heritage.
Scenes from my life. Yes, it's my culture.
Welcome to Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod. I'm Will.
I'm Brad. Hello.
Hi. Hello. Hi. Hello. Hi. Hello.
Greetings.
Brad, we're back to the my least favorite time of year.
Well, it's less least favorite now that you don't have to go, right?
It's the second week in January, which means it's time once again to journey into the festering hellhole that is CES.
You literally wrote that in the notes here. CES is still a festering hellhole.
Yep, title sorted too, so we got that knocked out already. But
yes, I was talking to our friend Adam from PC World back in, it was like late November, I guess, mid-November, I think was when I was talking to him about this. He was already in the throes of planning the CES trip and meetings and stuff. And good God, man, like having to go to a trade show like a week after you're back at work from the holidays.
I like, if you don't have your stuff planned before you go home for the holidays, you've ruined your holidays because you're gonna have to do it over the holiday break. The thing I will say, it's bad for a multitude of reasons, right? One is that it's in Las Vegas, and unlike say E3, where all of the convention halls are within a 10-minute walk of each other, at Vegas for CES, they're like a 30-minute bus ride, and it can be more based on traffic. So there's like 3 or 4 convention halls and then stuff spread out at every other hotel in town. So if you like plan poorly, you can be literally 3 hours late to a meeting really easily.
I never thought about that. Like I was the person who booked the E3 meeting schedule for the whole time we were going to E3, but there, like you said, like I'd say tops like 10 minutes to get from one end to the other to a meeting if it was all the way on the other side. I can't even imagine having to like figuring out the logistics of all the hotels spread around everywhere.
Well, there are areas of LVCC, which is the Las Vegas Convention Center, that are a 30-minute walk from other areas of that complex. It's so big because like they have a West Hall that's like double layers, and it's like a quarter of a mile to the back of the thing. And if you're all the way in the back of it and you need to get to the furthest away part of the furthest away hall with like normal convention foot traffic, you can take 20 or 30 minutes to get there just walking. It's an awful planning exercise. So that's bad.
That's intense.
Yeah. The hours are bad because in addition to the trade show stuff, there's also like every single night, there's 5 different events where they take over a ballroom in a hotel, in like the MGM someplace, and they fill it with all the crap from people who didn't want to pay for real CES booths, but wanted to be present for the week of CES. And that stuff is like, sometimes it's really good. Like we saw USB-C there for the first time, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But also there's a lot of crap in there.
That's like the Kentia Hall E3 thing, you know. It's like you go in there. Sometimes you get Guitar Hero when nobody's ever heard of it before.
Yeah, exactly.
99% of the time, you get the rest of the crap.
So on top of all that, like the scale of products is everything from like the newest thing from Samsung and LG and like people who actually make real products, all the way down to like companies that make real products, but also make some fake products to kind of psych out their competition. And then there's just like, hey man, I had $10,000 in a dream and I made something real weird and I'm bringing that. And like, it's all there. And there's just miles and miles and miles and miles of aisles of stuff. You're going for 20 hours a day. There's a bunch of bad press conferences on the first day or two that are just like, they make the very worst. They make the Imagine the World guy from E3 that year look like the best presenter you've ever seen. It's exhausting, and almost all of it is bad. And most of the people who cover it are kind of bad at covering this kind of thing because they're just like, man, everything's really cool. And I'm going to go tell you, anytime you see somebody say everything I've seen at CES was really cool, they are liars, because there is definitely like, there's always trends. Like this year, it seems like was a big year for like connected sex toys, which is a weird thing to showcase on a trade show floor just in the first place. It's a very weird show, and it's pretty hard to cover well. And it's just it is a genuinely awful. Sorry, I don't mean to be a bummer about this, but anyway, CES kind of sucks.
Well, hey, on the upside, you don't have to be there anymore.
Yeah, I don't have to go. There's a few good things every year. That's the unfortunate part of the whole thing. So we're going to do something a little bit weird this year. Should we just tell them what we're going to do?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So we have.
I want to hear it too, because I'm not sure I've even still got quite the best handle on it.
Well, it's okay. This is going to be. We got a great show for you tonight. Okay, so we're going to talk about like the things that we actually thought were cool. The handful of things, five or six things. And then we went through and found all the stupidest stuff we could find. And we also made up some things.
Yes.
And we're going to take turns giving each other like, you know, a rundown of a few things. And then the other person has to pick out the one that they think is fake.
Mm-hmm. Which, coming up with fake CES products, whether they are real shippable products or just like tech demo concept bullshit, way harder than you think. Because if you can dream up something stupid, odds are somebody has already brought it to CES.
And has a name and a trademark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had 2 things that I was like, this can't possibly be a thing that somebody would think is a good idea. And sure enough, maybe not this CES, but in past CESs, they existed. So anyway, but we'll do that later. That's the end of the show. The first thing, let's just run down like the big tech stuff. So Nvidia had some stuff that they announced early in the show. There's new high refresh rate G-Sync stuff that's basically they're doing more dead frames on both the backlight and the screen to increase the contrast and reduce the blur, even on high refresh rate monitors, which sounds pretty good.
Yeah, the Pulsar, I believe, is the name for that stack.
Yeah,
which I guess is a kind of an addition to G-Sync, right? It's like now part of the G-Sync standard.
Yeah, and G-Sync is weird because it started out as a thing that you had to have a chip in the displays to work with. G-Sync basically syncs up the frame buffer in the video card with the display refresh on the monitor is the short version.
Yeah, like it was the original variable refresh, right? Before standardized versions of that came out, both AMD FreeSync and also the VRR that's part of the HDMI 2.1 spec. To further muddy the waters for people who don't know, Nvidia will refer to monitors as G-Sync compatible that are actually FreeSync.
Yeah, so
FreeSync is the open AMD backed standard, and so like monitors using that standard that work with Nvidia cards, Nvidia will call those G-Sync compatible, not FreeSync.
But
anyway,
but it's more complicated than that because there's some G-Sync compatible FreeSync monitors and some FreeSync monitors that are not G-Sync compatible is why they do that, I think. Anyway,
that is they do have an approved list,
HCL or something.
Yes, like here are the ones that we officially say will work.
So anyway, the upshot on this is it syncs the pixels to the backlight strobing, and they can do it at a really high refresh rate. It seems like the kind of thing you have to see in person. The folks who I trust to look at stuff who were there seem to think it was pretty cool, like the Blurbusters folks and those people. I'll be it's not shipping until later this year, so I'll be interested to see it when it comes out. I'm sure we'll talk to our friends there and try stuff out.
Yeah, but just to clarify, like the underlying technology, I don't know if you can speak to why this works in terms of like cognition and perception, or if it has something to do with like the way your eyes work or what, but like strobing the backlight of the monitor helps to reduce blur. Is that correct? Like you're essentially like turning the backlight off and on at an incredibly high rate.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
So this is one of those things that's really complicated. We should probably do a whole episode about it at some point if we think it's interesting. But my understanding is that turning the backlight off and on helps kind of juice the chemistry of the rods and the cones in your eyes, so that you get more clear perception on each individual frame than you would otherwise. I don't know. Like the weird thing about all of this stuff is it seems like we're doing an incredible amount of work to basically mimic what CRTs gave us for free.
I've absolutely had that thought looking at this. It's like we are bending over backwards 3 times over to just do the thing that used to just come free with the display technology. Yeah,
at some point it might just be easier to make really skinny CRTs.
Yeah, which is like that's actually something I've thought about, that mini LED TV I bought as well, because at the end of the day it's still LCD.
Yeah,
with all of the inherent drawbacks of LCD.
Yeah,
they're just doing all this crazy, like very high precision backlight trickery to try to help with contrast issues. But did you see that? I mean, not to go off on a tangent here. Did you see that Sony is moving to mini LED as their flagship screen next year?
That makes sense.
From OLED.
Oh, not micro LED, no. Mini LED. Mini LED backlight with
yes.
Is it because of refresh rate?
I got the sense it's more because of brightness, because brightness is the one area where mini LEDs absolutely just kick the shit out of OLED as they can become dramatically brighter.
It's interesting because there was a lot of there was a lot of kind of esoteric but interesting things happening in displays in general. There's a lot more high refresh rate OLEDs, which seem to be more effective at blur reduction than LCDs because of this backlight strobing thing, because the OLEDs obviously are generating light themselves. So when they turn the pixels on and off very fast, then the light turns off as well. The answer to all of this stuff is it's complicated. Is it strictly necessary? Probably not. Is it going to look better than the old ones? Almost certainly. I don't know. I'm interested to see the new round of TVs when they're out later this year. All this stuff will ship in like June for the most part on these displays and TVs. There's some stuff that's coming out earlier.
Yeah, the stuff that Nvidia is doing with the Pulsar stuff in particular, and to be clear, all it seems to be doing that I gathered from this is that it's kind of marrying the control of the strobing to all the other parts of the display stack that G-Sync handles, such as like the variable refresh. Like G-Sync is tracking, what's the frame rate and how do we sync the refresh of the monitor to that frame rate? It seems like they're also now incorporating the strobing into that chain where everything is kind of aligned.
Whereas previously, like the firmware of the display would have handled that. When there was a dark pixel, it would turn the screen down.
Right. Yeah. And like that kind of makes me think maybe there will be a shift back toward G-Sync for some people. Like FreeSync is fine for the basics, like for basic variable refresh, but this sounds like kind of high tech enough and bespoke enough that I wonder if people will start like taking another look at G-Sync monitors, which are generally more expensive.
I mean, it has a dedicated Nvidia chip. It has to have the dedicated Nvidia chip in it for this new stuff to work. So it's going to be more expensive than a non-dedicated Nvidia chip in there. I'm curious to see it. Presumably it won't be shipping on any OLED stuff because the OLEDs don't have a backlight and don't have the backlight pulsing. Strobing is a problem. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. There'll be more on that. Like when they actually ship hardware is kind of like it's one of those things that you want to actually test in person, because like looking at videos of it and watching, like this is the stuff we miss by not going to CES. Yeah. That and a $23 corned beef sandwich. That actually pretty good corned beef sandwich, but $23 is a lot. Anyway, they also announced 4,000 super cards. Yeah,
those have been rumored for what feels like months at this point.
Yeah, it seems like they hit a better spot with pricing and memory configs on most of them. I think the low end one is a $6,000 4070 Super. Is that right?
$6,000.
Sorry, $600 4070 Super. 6,000 would be a lot. 12 gigs of RAM on the 4070 Super and 16 gigs on the 4070 Ti Super, which is a bad name, and the 4080 Super. It looks like maybe they hit the price and RAM points that they should have hit on the first wave of these cards.
Yeah, I wonder what drove that, because it felt like when the 40 or was it the 30 or the 40 cards where Jensen Huang effectively was just like, hey, this is the new price of GPUs, get used to it. So now they've kind of backpedaled a little bit, because to be clear, these cards they're not dramatically faster than the regular versions that they're replacing, but they are faster and they're cheaper. So like, just fundamentally they are faster and also cheaper. Like that feels like a little bit of a backpedaling from their stance on pricing.
The mid-season refresh is always like where they make the adjustment, right? So my guess is the GPU market has been a little soft this year. The desktop GPU market has been soft, so they're probably trying to juice those numbers a little bit would be my guess. Like in reality, there's a lot of people that are out there on like 2080, 2070 cards and are probably waiting. And like the first wave of these cards were too expensive. And they're like, maybe we can reduce the price a little bit more and capture a little bit more of that old market back before they go to AMD, who also announced new cards at CES.
Yes. I don't know if you said it, but just to illustrate the point, the regular 4080, I believe, is 1,200 and the 4080 Super is 1,000 now.
So the shipping, like the price in stores after it's been out for a while is $1,200 still. And the MSRP on these is $1,000. So yeah, it's like it'll be interesting to see if they actually ship at the MSRP, because new video cards haven't shipped at the MSRP for a minute.
That's fair. That is fair.
AMD announced a new range of 7,000 mid-series mid-range cards. It's the same story. Like it's faster, better, slightly cheaper across the board. There were a bunch of weird transparent TVs from Samsung and LG especially.
Yeah.
Samsung had a micro LED one that was looked like a thick piece of plexiglass kind of from the side.
Yeah.
And I don't think is a real product. I think they explicitly said this isn't a real product. This is just a tech demo, but it looked pretty cool. Micro LED. It looked like a piece of glass with pictures inside it. I don't know.
Yeah. It looked awesome. I mean, like I have no practical use for a transparent TV, but
no, it seems like it would be a terrible way to watch TV, actually.
Yes. But I am just excited to see micro LED still appearing at CES, because I mean, there are shipping products. We talked about that a few months ago. I mean, they are in the 5 to 6 figure range still, but there are micro LED TVs available for purchase. But it's nice to see them sticking with this display technology, because it feels like before OLED caught on, it felt like there was like one like radical new display tech after another that got a lot of press at CES and then never actually came to market. Like remember SED?
Yeah, well, it took OLED 10 years to go from weird tech demo to something you could actually buy.
Yeah,
really.
And to be fair, like OLED is great. Like, if OLED was the thing for the next 10 or 15 years, that's probably not the worst thing in the world. But like, there are things to improve on with it. So it's nice to see them continuing to push even better stuff and not have that just die on the vine.
Well, there were a handful of seemed like cheaper micro LED TVs available this year. And people were talking about the contrast ratios all being really good because the micro LEDs get really bright.
Yeah.
So that was cool. LG had a thing that they claim they're going to sell. I don't think they really will because it looks very stupid and also very cool. But it looked like a kind of skinny fish tank. I don't know if you looked at pictures of this.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
It looked like it was about 4 or 5 inches thick, but a clear box that was 4 or 5 inches thick and had an OLED screen on one side, and then a dark shutter on the back that could close off the sides and the back so that it would look like a more traditional TV when you flip that on. And it's an OLED. It's basically an OLED that is. It looked kind of crazy. It's going to be more expensive. They say they're going to sell this. It's going to be more expensive than a comparable flagship OLED. So you're going to spend more money and get something that kind of sucks compared to the good one. But it does look really cool. There's videos on the Verge site of it actually working in effect. And when you run it with the backlight, with the back darkener off, it's a whole different language here. When the back darkener is off, it looks like the picture is kind of floating inside the tank almost.
Sure.
Which was a neat effect.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's worth more money than a flagship OLED is, but there you are. And then Samsung has a new super duper anti-glare OLED screen that they showed with a crazy bright light right next to it. But it still doesn't support Dolby Vision. So people who really care about TVs probably aren't going to care too much.
Yeah, having we've talked about this, having gone through basically 2 rounds of TV selection and purchasing recently for my parents and then myself. Like, regular HDR is great, but it seems like it would be hard for me to commit that kind of money to something that does not support a standard as pervasive as Dolby Vision at this point. Like, it's starting to seem really egregious that they have not buckled on this.
I brought up the Samsung anti-glare OLED just because I wanted to take a shot at Samsung, because I assumed that if they were going to revert and admit defeat here, this would be the time to do it. But maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe. Because I mean, like, based on my research, and also I went to Best Buy and looked at a bunch of screens in person. Like, Samsung's OLEDs, I mean, they're pretty early on. They're only on their second year of OLEDs. They look incredible. Like, they're
gorgeous.
They've got pretty significant brightness advantages over the most of the LGs on the market. Like they're doing some really interesting stuff with OLED now that they're in that market, but no Dolby Vision. And also some of the audio stuff, I believe, also is kind of lacking as well. Like, it's just really hamstringing your own otherwise seemingly excellent product here.
A lot of 3,000 nit TVs on the market as well.
That's a lot of nits. That's mine. This mini LED I got. What did I say?
1,000 at most is pretty much what last year's were.
I think 1,500 is what mine will do. That's very bright.
Yeah.
1,500 is very bright. I cannot imagine double that.
Look, we're going to reach a point soon where you're advised to not look at your TV when it's on maximum brightness. And
is that? Do you have any idea if that scale is linear or not?
I have no idea how nits work.
Like,
I don't remember.
Okay.
I had to take that. I learned that 20 years ago, and it's gone now.
Okay. I also have no idea, but I wonder if is 3,000 nits like literally double 1,500, or is there some fall off the higher you get or something? I don't know. That's another thing to research, I suppose.
Well, so the problem is that the human eye is not there. Your response to light is not linear.
Okay.
But the scale probably is.
Yeah.
So anyway, last thing that I thought was cool that's coming out is Qi 2, which is the wireless charging standard that they've added. Apple basically gave them the MagSafe, smart locking magnetic connector that goes on the back of newer iPhones. And it's basically that. They're coming out now. You're going to get MagSafe like lock on. It's available to Android and other devices. And the new power spec is 15 watts versus 5 watts for the first version. So it's basically MagSafe 2 in an open, or MagSafe in an open standard, which is dope.
That's awesome. That's, there are some, I think we've talked about this recently a little bit with like aftermarket Apple Watch chargers. I think we talked about that on the show.
Yeah, we did. That was a show conversation.
But there's so many janky ones out there. Like the no name chargers that have magnetic charging in them like, you know, they don't align well, or the magnet's not strong enough, or whatever.
The watch gets really hot when you use it, or
Right. So for like both for like energy wasting, you know, because if the coils are not aligned well, you're wasting a bunch of energy, which is wasteful, but also like you're heating up your device, which is bad for a battery, et cetera, et cetera. Like it would be nice for all like the just general, like the rising tide to lift the quality of all of that stuff, even the cheap stuff that's out there.
Just to be clear, this is only for phones. This isn't for watches. The watch charger is still a proprietary thing on the Apple Watch side, at least.
Sure. Well, this seems like a good step in that direction.
Yeah. And and it's nice because it means you have like phone mounts in the car that the phone just clips on, it just magnets onto, and you don't have to worry about like clamping it in or whatever. So
yeah. Can I jump in with one more bullet point about screens before we move on to the dumb stuff?
Yeah. What do you got?
Did you see that there is some nano LED stuff that started to show up at CES?
No, I missed that.
I was not even aware of nano LED as a technology. Apparently, like I was just looking over it before this and hesitated to bring it up, but I guess I will.
We talked about it last year briefly.
Nano LED, if I understand, like you're familiar with quantum dots, like you see people talking about like QD OLEDs and is it Samsung that uses QLED as a brand name?
Samsung likes quantum dots a lot. Yeah.
Right. And generally so far that's been like a quantum dot layer over top of whatever other screen technology, be it OLED or LCD or whatever.
Yeah. And it's a thing where like something else illuminates a pixel and then the quantum dot makes it way brighter or something. Is that right?
So my quick understanding, and we'll just move on from this because it's too early to even be worth really talking about yet. But my understanding of nano LED is that that's the quantum dots like being fed by current directly.
Oh,
and emitting light directly and not having them just be a bolt-on on top of some other screen technology.
So somebody's showing demo devices?
There was some kind of functional nano LED screen at CES that I saw going around. So anyway, I just want to throw that in there because even as micro LED is starting to be talked about more and shown more, it seems like there are even other screen technologies that are in the works.
Well, so that's the thing. That's the thing about CES that's fun, right? Is there's always like one or two things that you go in and you're like, oh, you got to walk by and see this thing. And like, you know, in the old days, it used to be like an 8K TV with footage of the last space shuttle launch, or, you know, a screen that rolled in and out of a pull out like paper towel roll or something like that. Right now, it's stupid stuff like a smart toilet that you wave your hand in front of to get the lid to go up, and it has an e-ink coating on the outside so it can change from light to dark.
Hang on,
the whole toilet.
Let me just stop you real quick. I'm not guessing yet, right?
No. These are real things. So
we're not in the lightning round yet.
No. So one of the stupid things. We're into the lots of stupid stuff category. Some of these are going to be real. A couple of them are going to be fake. This first one, just to give you an idea of what we're talking about and why we think it's stupid, is the Rabbit R1, which a lot of coverage. It got a lot of coverage.
It did
a whole lot of coverage from pretty much everybody, and they demoed such things as ordering a pizza from Pizza Hut with the most common toppings on it, or that was pretty much it. It was a 28-minute video I watched, and that was the most interesting thing in there.
The only other thing I saw was they pointed it at a picture of Rick Astley.
Oh, great.
And it called up the song, you know, the one,
nope, don't
and
want
started
that.
Playing it without it being asked.
It's a teenage engineering design device. I like teenage engineering.
Yeah.
They designed the Playdate. They designed a bunch of cool like music synths and all sorts of weird electronic stuff.
Yes. I kind of felt bad for them when I saw how much negative attention and buzz this was getting.
Well, so the thing is, the press really liked it. Everything that I saw was positive about this, and then all of the comments were like, "Why was this cool?" Which is literally the definition of a great CES product, right? Like, hey, man,
sure,
people are going to look at this, and in the 5 minutes that you have with it, it's going to look awesome. And everybody's like, "What the hell does it do?" Yeah. It's an AI connected device that uses they had language for it, but basically it does tasks that you can kind of train with a real hard asterisk about how hard it seems to be to train things. You have to use like their own provided virtual machines, stuff like that, to do the training. You can ask it to do things like order a pizza, which I could do in EverQuest in 1999 by typing /pizza. Mm-hmm. You can also get it to perform Photoshop tasks for you if you take the time to train it how to do those tasks. It doesn't look particularly useful and or cool.
Yeah. And to me, you know, to your point about how CES really just encourages people to like think a thing is cool for 5 minutes and move on. It doesn't seem like anybody has really interrogated the use case or what the everyday experience of this thing would be.
Yeah.
Because this requires you to carry another device around in your pocket. Like the whole idea is that you whip this thing out on the spot to have it take care of things that AI could take care of for you, right? But people already have a device shaped just like this in their pocket. You know, it's like, who is going to carry a second one of these around?
So also it's big. It's thick for a phone.
Yes,
it's big and thick for a phone.
Let me stop you. Wait, is it also a phone? Or are they saying
it's not a phone?
So that's okay, right? That's what I thought. So this will not replace your phone. It's just another thing.
It has a phone radio, so it connects to the T-Mobile network, so it works when you're away from Wi-Fi.
Okay.
But yeah, it seemed very much like, look, maybe this is going to be a stupid moment, and it's like the Hudsucker proxy where Tim Robbins invents the hula hoop, and he just says it's for kids the whole time, and if you don't handle it, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
They sold 10,000 of them 3 times already, so we'll see how it goes. You can back it now and pre-order it now. And they've sold 3 rounds of pre-orders.
Got it. Did you mention the price? I mean, it is only $199. Yeah. We should say it's not smartphone price, at least.
No. But it seems goofy at best.
Yes. I mean, I just Googled it just to see what stories came up, and this Time headline really just seems like the whole thing. Startups are racing to create the iPhone of AI. They're just trying shit, right? Like they're just coming up with products and making prototypes or making them as fast as they can because somebody feels like they're going to be the ones to hit. But
also literally everything they showed is stuff I can do with my phone right now. And most of it I can do even with voice on my phone. So anyway,
I mean, this is going to get even if this were to kind of catch on, what's the term? Sherlocking? Isn't this just going to get Sherlocked by the trillion-dollar corporations that already make sophisticated devices that go in your pocket?
It's funny you say this because as I was watching the tech demo of the video of this presentation, all I was thinking is, this is a company that they are building specifically to get bought by Apple or Google or Samsung.
Right. Yes. And especially as like everybody who makes microprocessors is building more machine learning hardware into those chips.
It does not seem particularly defensible in the terms of the Valley.
Like all the devices you're already buying are going to do all of this very soon, if not already.
Okay. So now we're into the bonus round. This is the fun part of the show.
All right.
Brad, you have prepared a few products, both real and fake. I have done the same.
Okay,
and we're gonna pop quiz shot each other.
I'm starting to get a little nervous about my ability to lie convincingly on the fly.
Well, you should have prepared better then.
Although I was always like pretty good at what is it, Werewolf or Secret? I never played Secret Hitler, but that style of game, like I actually did pretty well at that stuff.
Were you not part of the Whiskey Media panel of experts that replaced Wikipedia for a day when Wikipedia turned off?
No, I was not invited.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It was a pretty full table, but the set was pretty wide.
Yeah,
pretty full.
Yes. All right. Should I just like read some of these off?
Yeah, just read me your products. I'm going to separate fact from CES fiction here.
Okay. I've got 5 here.
Okay.
I'm just going to read all of them to you.
Are you going to tell me how many of them are fake, or I have to guess?
I don't know. What's more fair here?
I think just make me guess because I'm not going to tell you how many of mine are fake.
Okay. All right. Give me just a second here to pull up a couple of things. Okay. All right.
I'm taking notes, just FYI.
Yes. Number 1. We have the Flappy, which is an AI powered cat door.
That is 100% real.
Okay. Yes, you got it.
Yeah, I've seen that product being demoed at CES myself 10 years ago, but the AI powered is the new part.
Yes.
Let me guess. It has a camera. You teach it what your cat looks like. It eventually gets to recognize your cat and only lets your cat in, not other cats or raccoons or possums.
So surprisingly, the number one thing they seem to pitch with this is that it stops your cat from bringing dead animals in with it.
Oh, that
was the number one thing they said, was that they've using AI driven image recognition or whatever, that they have a 90% success rate of stopping, of basically preventing the door from opening if it senses that the cat has a dead animal in its mouth or something.
What if the animal is living in its mouth still? Because one of my favorite genres of TikTok is person who discovers their cat brought in a live mouse instead of a dead mouse.
Oh, that's grim. I don't know.
It's not great.
They did not make that distinction. They did mention the use case of having it only permit your cat to come in, but they actually said that utilizes like microchipping. Like if your cat is microchipped, you can program it to recognize that chip and only allow the cat in that way. But they didn't say anything about like IDing the cat on site.
Did they show the cats like smashing into the door because it takes a second for the image recognition to work before it unlocks?
No, that would be, well, I started to say that would be hilarious. That would not be hilarious for the cats, but
they learn.
Yeah.
Okay. What else you got?
Probably true. That's probably
the Flappy real product. Buy it now.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, the Moonwalkers from Shift Robotics.
That's on my list.
Okay,
They're $1,400. They're designed for workers in warehouses and factories. They let you walk roughly 3 times faster than you normally can with the same energy as a slower walk.
Okay, so the Engadget video I watched of these looked ridiculous with the reporter walking around the ballroom that they were testing them in. But then I realized, like if you were in a warehouse all day and these let you move around 3 times as much for the same amount of like energy and stress on your legs, maybe these actually aren't the worst thing in the world.
So the good thing about this is that our dystopian world where people are being sacked for being too slow in Amazon warehouses has finally created the market for these things that like I've seen these different versions of these exist for a long time. I think Norm and I tried on some boots that we had to strap onto our feet one year that I almost died using because they got a little hinky and I started going real fast.
I can see that.
I don't want to go down a hill with these on or hit a pebble. That's but the neat thing about these is you just walk normally and the wheels just make you go faster.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Yeah.
Not even faster necessarily. They just kind of extend your locomotion a little bit. Like per step, it seems like you just kind of roll forward a little bit every time you take a step.
Yeah, I didn't see anybody with showing footage of their reporters in like some sort of training shoot. Like was kind of like often you'd be in a place where you had like bars on either side of you and a floor that you had to learn how to use them on before they let you out onto the floor. So that's cool.
I assume these are like mechanized in some way to prevent you from rolling too fast or maybe help with balance or something. I don't know. Anyway, they seem like they might actually work well in like a warehouse situation, or they mentioned like somebody that works in like logistics.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
It bums me out that we're going to force people to wear these in warehouses though.
My thought was, would Amazon actually provide these to their workers themselves, or would they expect the workers to buy them?
Well, I look, whether they provide them or expect workers to buy them, they definitely will take them out of your pay if you fuck them up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. I shot that one down immediately. What else you got?
Okay. How about a product called a microwave?
Ooh, this sounds fun.
Should I describe it?
I'm curious what it does. Yes.
It's like a microwave that also does all the other types of heating at the same time.
Oh, so would you describe it as a smart oven?
I don't know. Sure.
Can you air fry in it too? Or is it just for microwaving, and can you make toast?
Maybe not actually.
Is it like a souped up toaster, or it's not so much?
It's unclear. Well, it uses it. It also is so it can do infrared heating.
Does it have a camera inside that looks and tells you when your food is done?
I don't believe so.
Oh, it's not. That doesn't sound that smart to me.
It can do air frying and convection type stuff. Also infrared heating, also microwaving all at the same time.
I'm going to say that this is a real product because I've seen things like this before.
Okay, this is in fact a real product from Revolution Cooking.
Wow.
I just think the audacity of calling your microwave plus other stuff product a macrowave is kind of amazing.
It's a pretty good name. You're not going to forget that.
No, you're not. And
most people
only one company's going to get away with that. Nobody else is going to get to do this again.
Yeah. I mean, it's like calling something the refrigerator. That used to be a brand name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And plus most people don't know what the microwave actually means. They're just like, oh, it's a small oven. It's a small oven that uses waves to heat my stuff.
Yes. It's not quite clear from this write-up, like if it can engage all of these different heating modes all at the same time. Like the use case here is, like microwaving heats food through.
Yeah.
But it's pretty crappy on like the outside, like it makes things soggy. And like the idea is like the infrared heating would sort of like crisp and brown the outside, which microwaves are terrible at.
Yeah.
While the microwaving heated the internals, or, heated it kind of.
Yeah,
I started to say uniformly, but microwaves actually are not the best at heating uniformly, but you know what I mean.
Well, so the smart oven craze of a few years ago was a lot of, hey, microwaves aren't good at this. And then it turns out all microwaves do is make water warm, right?
Yeah.
So, and they start from the outside and work there, and then the heat goes in internally from just like, by moving from hot to cold. So it takes a little bit. If you time it on and off, this is interesting. I'm not going to buy one of these, but this isn't the worst thing I've heard of at CES.
There could be some potential there. Also, to their credit, the word AI does not appear anywhere in this write-up. So
props to them.
Yes.
They're the winners so far in the least stupid thing we've heard in the stupid things from CES category.
Yes. Okay, here we go. Next product, the Thingy iPhone case.
Okay.
Which adds an iPod style click wheel to your iPhone.
Okay, so I saw an iPhone case that added a BlackBerry style keyboard to the bottom of your iPhone. So I'm going to say that this is also a real product.
Okay. Gotcha.
Why would you? Oh no.
All right. I'm very glad you came out and said that was a real product, because that was about all I had.
So
I really had not thought through the logistics exactly of how that was. Like, I was trying to picture in my head, like maybe it slides over the bottom of the screen somehow. Maybe it's translucent so you can still see the screen through it, but you want that mechanical feel.
I have a friend who's a former coworker who's been obsessed with the sneakers with wheels on the bottom that let you walk fast for as long as I've known them. Okay. And I was going to give that as one of my fake ones, and then I searched for it, and the Moonwalkers came. I was like, well, shit.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yes. This is, like I said, this is maybe not the most plausible idea ever, but it was directly inspired by that BlackBerry keyboard case.
The BlackBerry keyboard case pretty good. It makes your phone real tall, I think.
Yeah, it turns into a very long phone.
If you had an iPhone mini, it might be a good fit, but
yes. Yeah. In looking at that, this is a topic for another day, actually. Maybe we should file this one away. I came across an article on Harper's Bazaar about how Gen Z is like super, I mean, I guess this is every generation to an extent, but like Gen Z is super into retro technology right now.
Oh, they're mad for Zunes.
Like they're like, maybe not Zunes, but like point and shoot cameras.
I can see that.
Like cassette tapes in some cases, like wired headphones, just some stuff like that, you know.
My daughter has a cassette player that she got as part of her Halloween costume last year, because she was a character from Stranger Things.
Right. But also like costume. Like when did the vinyl craze began? What, 10, 15 years ago?
20 years ago now.
Millennials got way into vinyl. I guess that's not actually like a huge thing, but like it's more that some of the specific tech they're talking about here is like, it's kind of shocking to me because it's just inconvenient, you know, like point and shoot cameras, like the camera in your phone is like objectively better than that, right? Unless you're getting some DSLR or something, but like a little Canon ELPH style thing, like you're getting worse pictures and having to carry a separate thing around. So I'm kind of impressed at how dedicated to the bit they are.
Well, so there's a market for some of that stuff for the younger than Gen Z kids, because like, if you don't want your kid to have a phone, then you might get them a point and shoot so they can take pictures of stuff. Right.
Sure.
And I can kind of see that. But yeah, like people always want to buy their childhoods. That's what happens. You turn 30, you have disposable income. You always want to. It's why NES stuff was expensive when we first started working. And it's why N64 stuff was expensive 5 years ago. And I got bad news about PS1 and PS2 games if you want to collect old PS1 and PS2 games.
Oh, yeah. I guess the disconnect in my mind here is that I was under the impression that a lot of this tech is older than these people. Like it went out of style before they were even born, so they didn't grow up with it. But maybe my timelines are not lining up right.
Well, if you think about it, like smartphones really, really took off, and the phone cameras were good enough that you probably didn't have a standalone phone about 2010 or 2012, somewhere in there.
God, you're right. It actually has
not that long ago.
Has not. You're right. Has not been that long since, God, like in my mind, the smartphone supplanted a separate camera for most people. Like, I don't even know, 15 plus years ago, but I guess it's not been nearly that long.
It took a while. Like it was iPhone 4 was the first one that was like, oh, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And it still wasn't great. It was just good enough.
I mean, it's been well under 10 since like 10 years since like the cameras were like objectively amazing. Right.
Yeah. The iPhone 6 and the first Pixels and stuff like when we started. Yeah. It hasn't been that long. It's a newish idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have some for you, Brad.
Okay.
Should I do these and give you like 4 or 5 and then let you pick the one that's a dud?
Yeah, if you want. I don't know. Okay. I thought the format of just guessing was working pretty well.
Okay, we can do that.
All right.
Okay, so here's the first one. It's an AI lapel pin. You magnetically clip it onto your shirt. It has a little battery, and it lets you talk to like ChatGPT and ask it to do things. You can perform normal voice tasks. It can interact with using touch or project messages with a laser onto like your hand or a wall directly in front of you. And it's called the AI pin. Also, it has a camera and can take pictures and video.
I'm leaning toward fake on this one.
That one is 100% real.
Okay. All right.
The AI pin.
Okay. I was sitting here thinking like That sounds like an awful lot to miniaturize into something the size of a pen at this stage of the AI game, but maybe this thing is just actually connecting to a phone and that's where all the compute is happening. I don't know.
I think it connects. I think it has a cell modem, and it's basically like the Teenage Daydream thing, like the rabbit, but in lapel pin. It's like a Star Trek communicator. They messed up by not calling it the communicator, because if you called it the communicator and you could tap it and be like, computer, tell me what the volume of water in Lake Superior is, I would have spent $200 on that probably.
The other thing is that AI Pen is such an obvious name for a product that I thought surely they would have come up with something snappier than that.
This is what happens when your marketing people are engineers.
Hang on, I'm looking at. I just want to see what it looks like.
It looks like a touchpad for a laptop, but it's on somebody's lapel.
Okay, yes, it's not exactly fashion forward, I wouldn't say.
No,
it looks. Sure, it looks like it looks kind of like a giant Apple Watch attached to your shirt.
So the one nice thing that they did, it does look like an Apple Watch attached to your shirt. The one nice thing that they did is it is a magnetic fitting and it has multiple batteries on the back. Again, it's in the category of, here's something that we made that uses AI that I don't think anybody, like my phone does all of this stuff except for project stuff onto my hand, and I'm probably good.
Yeah.
It does have it has the camera. The camera's not always on. It does have a hardware light. So they did get that part right. So you can't, you don't have to like worry that somebody's videoing you, although it's magnetically attached. So people are just going to rip it off of you and run away is my guess.
Sure.
Okay. How about this one? It's an octoped robot duster for tabletops, bookshelves, and even small areas like the inside of a PC. It has a small fan and air filter and uses a laser to detect dust. So it scuttles around, looks for dust, blows the dust up the air, and then sucks it up into its filter. And it's called the Vroomba and will be shipping later this year.
It's not made by, what's the company? iRobot makes Roombas, right?
It's not made by iRobot. It looks like they maybe had... I'm going to tell you, I'm not sure about the trademark on this one, probably, Brad.
That's why I'm a little skeptical. I started to call fake on this because of the name in particular, but...
If it helps, it's VRROOO-MBA. So...
You know what the hell? I'll say this is real.
This is absolutely fake. I made this one up.
God damn it. Okay.
But I would buy an octoped vacuum robot all day long. Just put it inside my computer, be scuttling around going, sucking up dust. That'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely some weird robotic cleaning implements at this thing. Like Ecovacs had a window cleaner, like a robotic window cleaner that climbs your windows and cleans them.
Yeah. I would buy that. I have a lot of windows, I think. If I had a lot of windows, especially if I was on like a cliff or something, and that seems nice. How about the Parky? It's a robot. What parks cars? It scoots through a valet parking lot, lifts the car to position it directly in a space, then sets the car down and can go grab another car.
That's got to be fake. I mean,
that is 100% real.
God damn! Wow, who's going to consent to their car being manhandled by a robot while they're not around?
I think I'd rather have a robot do it than like the typical 19-year-old who works at a valet stand.
Fair point, I suppose.
I got another one. This is another banger. It's the Juicero, but for ice cream. It's a Keurig looking box. It's a little bit bigger. You take a can full of a compressed ice cream material, jam it into the top, and a few minutes later, it blasts out some ice cream that I'm going to say looked pretty serviceable, if a little gloopier than I like my soft serve to look usually.
That sounds like something somebody thought was a good idea to put in production.
That is absolutely something someone thought was a good idea. And is a product that was on being shown at the show floor. I watched 2 videos about it. Neither one of them told the name of the product.
Oh,
so
great.
More great CS coverage. How about this one? It's the Y brush. It's a toothbrush that looks like a mouth guard. You put it in your mouth and you hook it up either to their own attachment or to a Sonicare or other electric toothbrush, and it brushes all of your teeth at one time in 20 seconds.
Real.
That's 100% real.
That has to be real.
There were multiple demos of people using that thing, and it looked horrifying.
That fits very comfortably into the like tech bro life hack category of tech gadgets.
Look, you can save as much as 100 seconds twice a day by brushing your teeth with the Y brush.
You know, my dentist says like 60 seconds is good, as long as you're doing it in the right pattern. And
I like to take my time. I get the Sonicare out there. I work all the corners and,
Yeah. Well, gum recession is a risk if you brush too long and too hard. is the main reason he recommends to being judicious there.
There you go.
He said he had a patient once who told him that he brushed his teeth for 10 minutes at a time.
That's too much.
Yes, he agreed. So did I.
Sometimes I miss like I don't want to miss like a molar or something, so I'll hit an extra.
That's fair.
My Sonicare has a 2-minute timer on it, so like I know I'm very aware of how long I spend brushing my teeth. It's never more than one extra press.
Got it. I'm skittish about it because I did have some pretty not terrible, but gum recession from brushing too long and too hard, which required some procedures.
Oh, that's no, thank you.
It was not fun. It was not fun.
I had to have a gum graft when I was a kid. It was horrible.
Okay.
But you know what's not horrible is a real life moisture evaporator. It creates filtered drinkable water from the air. Watch multiple videos on this one too. No one asked how much it costs or how much power it consumes or if it worked at all in the dry desert air of Las Vegas. But it was on display at the show floor and at CES this year.
If this is fake, you're weaving a pretty substantial yarn about what coverage you consumed about it.
This one's real.
Okay.
This one's real.
I mean, it sounds absolutely plausible.
It is. Yes.
I'm trying to think through the implications of like, I mean, this seems like this would be quite valuable for humanitarian or, for like public good kind of reasons, not for necessarily like profit seeking, but.
Well, so they, it's called the Genesis Systems Water Cube. And the thing that they didn't talk about is usually things that do this, they didn't say what the process, nobody said what the process is that they use, but it looks like a giant dehumidifier.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say dehumidifiers are commonplace. So this just would have to have something in it that makes the water potable, right?
Yeah. So presumably they're filtering or reverse electrolysizing or something on top of the dehumidifying. It can make thousands of gallons of water a day. It costs $20,000 to pre-order. My assumption is it's going to really juice your electric bill. So you might save a little bit of money on water and spend a whole boatload more money on electricity unless you have solar.
Yeah. Like I said, this seems like it would have more implications for like disaster relief almost rather than something you would just use in your home.
Yeah. Or it's a way to extract money from survivalists. Either one.
Yes, sure. Fair.
What about a face mask that absorbs your voice? SkyTed makes absorption of your voice while you're talking a possibility. So you put the mask on, it has microphones inside it and has baffles and all sorts of like noise canceling stuff that prohibits your voice from leaking out. So you can have private conversations with people remotely in public without annoying anybody or without leaking any of your proprietary secrets for only $320.
This absolutely seems like something somebody would attempt. I'm tempted to call fake on this one though.
Also real.
Man, what?
Yeah, this is a real product. This was on The Verge.
Okay.
What about rideshare for your e-bike or skateboard? Instead of finding a place to store your last mile transit options while you're at work or at a movie, you can put it to work for you. Rider, with a Y, lets you earn money from your investment in an e-bike or electric skateboard by renting it out to other potential users while you're not using it. For example, if you go to work or at a movie during the day. Sorry, I did that part twice.
I mean, there is the Rider company that specializes.
RYDER. This is RIDYR. Just to be clear,
I missed where the Y. I thought you said it was RYDER.
No, it's Rider with a Y. Sorry, I didn't specify where the Y was. Yeah,
I see. Okay. Probably real.
This one's fake. Sadly, Brad.
All right, you got me.
Okay, I've got one more. This one is ASUS is bringing thinks foldable displays are going to get big this year. 17.3 inches big. That's right. They have a portable folding monitor in the pipeline that'll fold down to 12.5 inches. It's also portrait orientation.
Huh. I was with you until the orientation, and now I'm not so sure. I mean, ASUS does make literally everything under the sun that they possibly can.
That's true.
Foldables certainly are. I saw more foldable phones were at the show.
A lot of foldable phones. The Samsung has a phone that folds both ways.
Oh, wow. I missed that.
That seems like a bad idea.
I missed that. I saw some of them are straight up starting to be referred to as flip phones again. Like they are literally just like, hey, this is our flip phone.
The dream is alive.
Also, while I'm mentioning phones, did you see there were phones there that had e-ink back screens?
Some of the folding phones have had that, like out of China for a little bit.
Interesting.
That sounds pretty good.
This was just like cosmetic. This was just for like customizing the back of your phone and
putting part that's covered with a case,
putting a little flare on there. I don't know.
I can see that. Seemed like there was a lot of e-ink flare this year with the toilet and all.
Yes, indeed.
I'm gonna let you off the hook. This one's real. This is a real product.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Portable monitors very popular. It turns out.
I believe that.
Or they're very popular at CES. Whether they're really popular with people who spend money on things, I don't actually know, but people seem to be making a lot of them. So,
well, portable monitors may be like one of the use cases where a foldable screen actually makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. Like if I can fit it in my bag and then all of a sudden whip it out and get a giant monitor, that sounds great. That sounds actually pretty good.
Yeah. And also like, I mean, that I'm sure you've noticed like that's become a little cottage industry, right? Like the little 13 to 17 inch portable monitors. Like some people are super into those. Some of them are their own display.
Oh yeah.
Or some of them have their own display driver in them, like you don't even need a display output. Like
you just plug a USB in it or whatever, right? Yeah.
Like it's becoming a thing, a category. So I could see the foldable stuff there.
Yeah. I almost didn't include that one because I thought it was like actually sounded like it was a okay product rather than just a weird CES product. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I got.
All right.
So
look,
look,
I was not exactly batting 1,000 there, but look, CES is weird.
CES is real weird. You don't have the benefit of having walked around the dark spaces of CES.
It's true.
Seeing the male enhancement trainers and there was a lot. Yeah. There's a lot of weird stuff this year.
Yeah. I did go at least once, maybe twice.
CES is the first place I saw the Sphero, which is still my favorite of the stupid robots that I've ever done. It's the one that's like the hamster ball robot inside the little hard plastic ball.
There was a new one of those this year. Bali, I believe it was called.
That's from Samsung. That's different.
Samsung? Yeah, that was. Oh, it's a robotic assistant, apparently.
Yeah. Imagine if Siri could follow you around the house and do things like project a welcome message on the ground in front of you when you got home, or maybe order you a pizza. I don't know. It's Here's products in search of a market, the trade show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I will say that ice cream maker, it looked icky. The ice cream it made. I don't think I would have eaten it. I ate a 3D printed candy one time at CES, but I wouldn't eat that ice cream.
Wait, what?
You can 3D print anything.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, they 3D printed they like laser sintered candy to get like sugar powder, so it became a hard matrix, and it turned into like a sad marshmallow in your mouth.
I was gonna say
like a sugary goop.
I bet the experience of eating it was like tertiary to all the other factors of making it, right?
It's like, look, when you're
making something like that, like the quality of the food is probably the last of their concerns.
When you're in that trade show, the last thing you should do is put anything in your mouth. So yeah. Fair. It was that. It was either do that or go get tased across the hall. So we went and watched. We ate the 3D printed candy because I didn't want to get. Norm was like, "You should get tased." I was like, "I don't want to get tased," and so I didn't get tased.
Did Norm get tased?
No, Norm didn't want. Turns out Norm didn't want to get tased either. So
he just wanted to see somebody he knew getting tased.
I'd read enough about the less than lethal nature of the modern electrical taser to know that I did not want to be tased on a trade show floor where I was 40 minutes from an ambulance.
Yes, that was probably a good call. What was y'all's track record of illness out of CES? Was there like a CES flu every year?
I want to say we brought it back to Whiskey in the Basement one year. I used to get sick after going to Comdex and CS and Maximum PC, and then I learned the one hand for the environment and one hand for me. Mm-hmm. So I just don't ever touch anything with my left hand at all and shake hands and fist bump and everything with the right hand. Yes. And after that, I was more or less fine.
Yeah, I observe that practice to this day in a lot of settings.
Yeah, it turns out in the modern post-COVID, post-current COVID environment, it's a good policy.
Mm-hmm.
Brad, I think that brings us to the end of our annual CES spectacular,
exhaustive, best in class coverage.
Yeah. Once more, our dip back into the hellhole. As always, Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod is a 100% listener supported show. Without the fine listeners of the show, we would not be here every week. So thank you to everybody for listening, and thanks for supporting the show. If you would like to find out how, you can go to patreon.com/techpod. Again, it's patreon.com/techpod. Maybe I'll pull out the where for $5 a month you get access to the fabulous TechPod Discord full of beautiful people who talk about all sorts of awesome stuff. I saw some of these products discussed during the previous week in the Discord. You also get access to the patron exclusive episode, which we do every month. Maybe this month I have a couple of rejected fake products that turned out to actually be real. Maybe we'll read through some of those or do some other stuff this month.
It'll be fun.
And if you subscribe at one of the higher tiers, you get your name read on the show every week, like all of our executive producers, including Paddle Creek Games makers of Fractured Veil, Andrew Slosky, Jordan Lippett, Bunny Fiend, the Just Wedge, Joel Krauska, Twinkle Twinkie, David Allen, James Kamek, and Pantheon, makers of the HS3 high-speed 3D printer, who I did not see coverage of at CES. This is the only place you can hear about them.
That's right. That's right. They knew better.
Yeah. So that's it for us this week. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week with another episode of the show. Hope you have a lovely one, and we'll see you next time. Bye.